Yo, Thought Warriors. What is up? Howard Learning is on. It's Ivan Lathan Jr.
And it's me, Rachel and Lindsay.
I saw Sinners last night.
Okay, and what did you think?
It was fantastic. Legitimately fantastic. All I'm going to say, revelatory performance by Michael B. Jordan, Omar Benson Miller. Fantastic movie. Legitimately fantastic. You'll hear more about the movie from me. I'm going to be on the big picture with...
Oh, is that how you got to see it early?
No. I ran into Omar. Shout out to Omar.
He's in it?
Miller. He's in it. He's got a nice big role in it. He invited Kalika and I out to the LA premiere. So we went out there and was out there with the LA Black Hollywood pop-up crew watching the movie. But
it wouldn't have invited me.
Who? I didn't. Man, we had to pull some strings to get the it was tough. But it was a great movie. Can't wait to talk more about it on the big picture with Sean and Amanda.
I've been seeing they've been obviously doing their press run and they've been everywhere promoting this movie. And I love a scary movie, so I'm very excited to see it. It's based in the South too, right?
Yeah.
But I'm a little offended they didn't come here to do that. I would have loved to have talked to them about the movie.
No, we did. I mean, this was part of it. The Warner Brothers people last night were like, they want to have somebody come to talk about the movie. I would love to have Omar. I'd love to have Omar Miller come in here and talk about Sinners with us.
Yes, I would love for them to come through. I want to see it. I want them to come here, have a conversation about it. Two Black people from the South.
Mm-hmm.
One of us loves scary movies.
This shit is scary.
Is it really?
I'm not going to give away too much about the movie.
I heard it has a lot of twists and turns.
It's a lot of twists and turns.
Okay.
I'm not sure how much I'm supposed to be
Very
saying,
excited.
but I just say this. Fantastic, well-directed, great script. Michael B. Jordan in his bag. The best I've ever seen Mike on screen. So you guys go out and see Sinners. We're going to have some more stuff about that probably next week as the movie is set to open. Opening, though, Donnie, let's get into it. We don't know where we are money-wise. We'll know where we are money-wise. We have David Oyelowo on the show today, so we're going to get to the interview in a second here. But before we do, we want to hit a couple of topics. The first one being the economy is up, it's down, it's a woozy, it's a wazi. Donnie, what's going on?
Yeah, it's a roller coaster. Stock soared Wednesday after Trump abruptly announced that he was going to back down on his reciprocal tariffs for 90 days. So the S&P rose 9.5%, which is its sharpest single-day gain since October 2008. And China, though, was the exception. They'll see tariffs increase to at least 125% from the original 104%.
So as I'm to understand it, this is Trump caving.
Well, not from their camp. They're saying, everything's a victory. Everything's a win. But it does feel like he's caving, right? Because he stood up there and said they're going to keep going and they're not going to, we didn't say negotiate. He said they're coming to us. They're begging us. We're going to continue to do what we're doing. We're standing tall, whatever, blah, 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 blah. So then to see him put the pause, unless there's some ulterior motive, because right before he announced the pause, what did he tweet?
Buy stock.
Buy stock.
Yeah. He was trying to. I definitely think that there's some market manipulation involved here. But I'll say that what seems to have happened from a lot of the stuff that I'm reading, I want a lower third that says macroeconomist Van Lathan is on the case. From everything that I've been reading, is that Trump and his team, the White House, were pretty steadfast that they were not going to have any pauses with the tariffs or grant any exemptions. They had said it over and over and over and over again. But the bond market, which is a very telltale sign of American economic health, started to get a little iffy there. And some of the bigger wigs, not the stock market pain Trump was willing to deal with, but the pain in the bond market made him kind of course correct and chicken out a little bit.
And why is the bond market important?
Well, the bond market is a very important indicator on the overall health of the American financial system. Macroeconomist Van Lathan. The overall health of the American economy. Obviously, bonds are, the yields of bonds are very important to, they are both influenced by interest rates and stuff like that, and also the strength of the American Treasury bond is such an indicator of the American economy worldwide that if the bond market starts to really show some signs of pain, it can be looked at as a fracturing from what I'm reading in my classes with all of these other economists, macroeconomist Van Lathan. It's a more fundamental sign of American economic pain. So I was able to watch, I'd say maybe at least a dozen YouTube videos on this, which made me sort of an expert. And I actually had to make calls. And it's so funny listening to me try to talk to actual smart people about stuff. Smart people get so excited at dumb people.
Why?
Oh, they were so excited. Because these are people that call me up to ask me about things that are completely irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. So Van, what is Zeus Network? I keep hearing about it, and you and Rachel were talking about it on the podcast. I don't know Zeus Network. I don't know what it is.
Don't explain that to them.
Who is Scotty Got Fans? Who is Scotty the Body? Who are these people? And so when I call them up and go, so listen, I understand what a treasury bond is. I understand what the maturation on a treasury bond means. I understand what all of this stuff means. But explain to me how the bond market actually influenced Trump to change. Okay. To understand this, you have to go back to the bond swap era of 1917. Nigga, we don't have time.
So what you're basically saying, though, macroeconomist Van Lathan, is that it wasn't public outrage. It wasn't pressure from American citizens who were scared about stocks dropping. It wasn't the media constantly covering it all day, every day. You're saying the main reason that Trump decided to put a pause is because of the bond
So I
market.
talked to about 5 different people.
Okay.
Now, I don't know any, even with economics, there are people who come at it from, I would say, different lenses of economic and political theory. There are people that are more free market. They're more based in the free market, the laissez-faire economists and all of that stuff. And then there are people that from all over the spectrum that look at the way the economy should be working in different ways. I don't know too many of your typically more conservative people in terms of their economic theory. I know some people that would be considered a little bit neoliberal, which might offend some of our audience or people who are leftists or progressives. But I don't know the traditional conservative economic theory people. They're not kind of in my sphere, which a lot of people might be surprised at. Like, man, those are the worst people. So it wasn't like I got a lot of diversity in thought.
Okay.
But from what I understood is that a little pain being shown in the bond market actually made Trump think about what he was doing because these are the richest people and the most structurally wealthy people going back a long time that were saying, hey, look at this. This is actually becoming a sign of decreasing American wealth, or it's actually panicking people that make fundamental financial decisions for the country. And when I was asking the question about, well, why wouldn't the stock market do that? And he was like, well, the stock market is something that has been, I don't want to overstate this. It's been somewhat, this is what I'm being told, it's been somewhat democratized in terms of 401ks and other people investing into the stock market. And whereas there's huge wealth disparity in who owns stocks, who owns the majority of stocks, how much wealth is in the stock market, that for whatever reason, Trump was willing to ride the ups and downs on that. And according to these people, he wasn't willing to watch, yields and all of those things start to take hits from some of the up and down that was happening with his tariff stuff.
So we're in a battle. We're in a trade war right now or a tariff trade. Do we call it a tariff trade war or trade war?
Trade war.
Trade war. Okay, I had it right the first time. With China. as the resident macroeconomist on this podcast, do you see it ending?
Videos.
What does this do for the American people? Like what's going to happen here? Because China's not backing down. Who do you think is going to bend the knee first? Who's hurting more by this trade war? China or the United States?
Well, I have to put
because 125% is wild.
So I have to put the pencil in my ear now.
Okay.
Because I'm a numbers guy.
Okay.
So when the pencil goes in the ear here, I don't know if you guys who are listening can see this. I took the Apple Pencil.
They can't.
And I put it in my ear because I'm a numbers guy. What I want a visor and a little, one of those little calculators with the little tape on it.
We're going too far.
All right. I want that when we start talking. I'm a numbers guy.
Okay.
There's two things happening with China, in my opinion. One is economic and one is cultural. The economic part of it is that the Chinese simply don't want to be economically, they don't want the new world order of Trump's economics. They like being able to sell the amount of things that they're selling to the Americans. We have become an economy that's based on consumption. They have become an economy that's based on production. Now, there's reasons for that. And one reason is that there's a different form of government in China. And so, quite honestly, the state is involved in a lot of economic decisions that are made there. So if the state says there's new factory, there's new factory. If the state says you don't have wage rights, you don't have wage rights. So there is sort of a capture there that allows them to be a manufacturing hub to the rest of the world because there's less advocating that goes on for the people there. And we've decided to consume a lot of the stuff that they make.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that the Chinese do that it will be very hard to do over here because of cost.
Well, we saw the AI videos of them mocking us.
Secondly, so that's the economic part of it, as far as they don't want to upset the world order of how much we're consuming from them and how much they're producing. Their economy is kind of based around it. And depending on who you listen to, there are different takes that you will hear about the strength of the Chinese economy right now, about whether or not it's actually as good as people might think it is. Some people are saying that there's some pain there. Secondly is that they don't want to be fucked over by the United States. Culturally, they don't want to be bullied. They don't see themselves as being a secondary superpower. They see themselves as being in competition with the United States for large portions of global influence. Global influence in that area, global influence financially and militarily, right? So they don't want to establish a framework by which the United States of America can dictate to Canada what it has to do. And that's enough for them to endure some financial pain. That's what I'm hearing. The question then will be, I think we've talked about this before, is which society is more durable? Like, it would seem that it would be the Chinese because
we consume so much from them.
Well, no, what I mean is they have significantly less rights to advocate for themselves. Look, this is somebody else's opinion or world opinion of the Chinese population.
Yeah.
I haven't been to China before, so I can't speak on how things are. One of my friends went to China and said he was more surveilled than he's ever been when he was at Disneyland. Now, he was white. Okay. Now, look, but cameras everywhere, so I don't know. I don't want to speak on somebody else's culture without having been there and experienced it for myself. But over here, it would seem that there are early indications that some of this stuff is very unpopular. If you look at election results in Wisconsin or other places, it would seem that Americans are already starting to sour on the on-again, off-again relationship that Trump has with tariffs and that they have with their 401ks. So it would seem that the Chinese population would be less durable, would be more durable, which also would embolden the Chinese government to continue playing hardball with Trump.
Yeah, I know. Like, people are celebrating this pause, and we know that there's been an increase in the stock market since the announcement. But one, the pause is only 90 days. Two, it seems to really have come out of nowhere. I know you explained the bond market and everything, but you had the U.S. trade representative, talking in front of Congress who had no idea. And the tweet comes while he's, that's viral video has been going around. So it seems like they don't know what they're doing and it could change any and every day. So there still seems to be no stability on what our government is doing in regards to this trade war with China or any country. We're still on shaky ground.
I mean, no stability, no clarity, no nothing.
Yeah.
We don't know. We have concepts of an idea of why all of this is happening. Well, we literally we are in a concepts of a government. We have concepts of a constitutional order. We have concepts of a financial order. We have concepts of an immigration plan. There's no rhyme or reason for any of this stuff besides how one dude feels when he wakes up in the morning.
Well, when you have your president getting asked these questions and his responses, people are getting yippy. We have issues.
He's yipped out.
People are just getting yippy. They're getting yippy.
Donnie, before we get to David, let's hit on a quick entertainment topic that people have been talking about that I thought was super interesting.
Yeah.
Did you?
Keri Hilson was on The Breakfast Club this week, and she spoke about her 2009 song, Turn Me On, where she had a few lines that are interpreted as a Beyoncé diss.
It's a regret. It's a regret, but not in the way that people would think, because that's a song that I actually didn't write. Those are not my words. I was on tour. Polo wanted me to do a remix to Turn Me On. Mm-hmm. He had produced the record, and because I was on tour with Lil Wayne, I wasn't able to lay anything down. He had been on me for a couple of weeks about we need to do a remix. Okay, so I take off. It wasn't happening quick enough for him. I take off, we fly in, and he had another writer in our camp at the time. He had her write this. So he played it for me, this is the remix, because I'm thinking I'm coming in to go write a remix to Turn Me On. The whole time I had been writing concepts, what would I say? How do I even remix this? What do I want to? So I had lines and I had, things that I would have said, but I come into the studio and he plays me this verse, and I'm automatically, I'm I'm not saying that. Mm-hmm. That was my position.
It's back and forth over this. So Esther Dean wrote the song.
She wrote the lyrics. Keri did contribute to some, but not those lyrics.
From what I understand, yeah.
Yeah, she didn't write any lyrics that were about dissing any other female artists.
So they went back and forth. Esther Dean, because Esther Dean had that song. Remember that song?
Yeah, I can't.
Drop the thing around and do the thing around.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, so Esther Dean is a very accomplished songwriter. She then wrote an apology because at first there was some back and forth. She was like, yeah, I wrote it.
She was like, it was me and it was a hit.
Yeah, and did.
10 toes down.
And then the Beehive got to her and she folded by the end of the day. So I see how it hurt people, especially women. I take full accountability. She continued. Dean signed off by saying, by apologizing for a part in it and saying growth is real and so is this apology. You know what's interesting about this is of all the things that have happened to all the people in the world, the hate or bad feeling for Keri Hilson over this song has been one of the most enduring things in music.
It's the Beehive.
They never, ever, ever fucking forgot this.
It's the Beehive. And what she said was, I'm not going to celebrate it. It was the lyrics were pitting women against each other. And she talks about that she was forced to do it. We didn't talk about it in this, but if you listen to the whole interview, which I suggest that people do, she says that her album was not out yet when this remix came out. And Polo basically said to her, well, do you want your album to come out or not? And hung that over her head. I'm paraphrasing here, but basically hung that over her head which is why, because at first, I think if you listen to the clip, it's like, well, why did you just not sing it? You had hits. She's a songwriter and a singer, but she was basically threatened with this album coming out. And, y'all gonna get on to me, but Polo, they're gonna say I'm talking about Black men, but I'm just saying that was messy. of him.
Yeah, but what that got to do with him
Like,
being a
whenever
black
whenever I start blaming something, I feel like on
Oh.
a black man, the audience is like, here goes Rachel again.
Mm.
Always blindly taking up. No, it's serious. Like, he had no thought about what this could do to Keri. We know the beehive stings hard, and they never let up on Keri in this situation. And he was thought it would be this huge moment, which the original song was better than the remix anyway. And the only person who suffered at the end of the day was Keri. And I feel, and she stayed quiet about it. Because she probably feared, what is this going to do to my reputation if I tell on Polo or I tell on Esther Dean, who is, as you already said, an accomplished songwriter too. So I feel really bad for her that she felt trapped and she felt forced to be in this situation. And it's really sad. I'm sure there have been other people, maybe for different reasons, in the industry who have experienced this as well. All at the hands of a man who just wanted to be sassy for a moment and used it and made Keri Hilson be the vehicle of that.
So there are people who say that even though this song is the brainchild of Polo the Don, who has this second verse on Those Some D's, which is fantastic.
I never fall. We don't know the words, but that's it.
Bro, I love that record. Okay, I'm not gonna get into the whole thing of praising Polo the Don's sound, but what an era in time, man.
It was great.
I'm not a hoe. Give me that number, and I never call.
Well, now
real OG, this nigga, Paul. Okay.
Now we know he's messy.
Okay, so there are people who say that even after this, that Keri Hilson played into the back and forth with Beyoncé a little bit more than she did for years after this. And I guess the question would be, did she feel like she had to?
I think so.
Did she feel like she had to play into it? Was she standing 10 toes down for her team? But I just think this underscores something, which is how difficult it was to be a solo female pop R&B performer from the era of maybe 2007 to maybe 2018, 19, when it was legitimately a Beyoncé, Rihanna dichotomy. And it didn't really seem like anybody else could come up and make it during that time, because those two stars were such big deals.
Well, okay, so I would say that the rise came after the passing of Aaliyah, when it came to, because there was a void to be filled. And the first person, because Ciara popped in 2004. So
she did.
I would.
Ciara was there
Ciara
too.
had an era.
She did.
I would start it at 2004.
But Ciara's era was kind of, I don't want to talk about.
Ciara had an era.
You're right.
Yeah, because it was college for me. So I just remember it was like you were waiting on your edge of your seat for the new Ciara video. And we were all in our dorm rooms trying to figure out how trying to figure out how we could hit those Ciara moves. Yes. So I don't want to, it was Ciara.
What type of Lifetime movie shit was y'all on at Texas?
Girls do this all the time. This is where
so girls.
This is like TikTok.
Okay, so no, I guess it's like TikTok. So.
Yeah. Everybody, when Ciara had the Promise video, we were all trying to lean over. We were all with our backs against the wall trying to hit those moves. Yes.
Okay. In the dorms?
My parents made me stay for 4 years.
In the dorms?
In the dorms.
Okay. I believe you.
So everybody else, I was in my dorm. Everybody else was in their apartment.
Wow. But it does feel like even at a certain time, Ciara's run was kind of over. And it's like Ciara's run lasted, till 2011, 2012?
Which is a long time.
It's a long time. And then it just seemed like...
And Keri was right there on the rise. Right
beautiful,
there.
Beautiful, talented, great voice, could write, good dancer. But it just seemed like there wasn't very much room. And a lot of not just these younger female artists, but obviously we see now the label heads and the producers thought that in order to get any type of conversation about yourself or any type of shine or break out, you have to in some way either...
come at each other.
Yeah.
Like put the women against each other.
Mm-hmm.
Which is wrong. And I feel bad. So I hope the Beehive dies down. Because she also did Ciara. It was Beyonce and Ciara. But Beyonce's fans are louder. So I would hope that,
You know who broke this curse?
Who?
SZA.
What do you mean? You mean she broke the 2019 curse?
No. SZA is the artist who was able to, in my opinion, break through as a Black female solo artist and kind of move the industry past an era where there was nobody else who could get in, who could be consequential besides Beyoncé and Rihanna. Now, I'm not blaming Beyonce and Rihanna for it. They was just doing their thing.
Yeah,
they was just doing what they was doing. But when SZA came in and SZA actually started to blow up as a star, when it became, it's not just that SZA is going to be around and have a couple of songs. SZA is going to be like a legitimate superstar. This is like, what, 17? 16?
Is that when she came on the scene?
I'm talking about when Control dropped.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like 17, 16, something like that. I remember around the time, and then All of the Stars comes out as far as the Black Panther. It started to be, okay, well, there's somebody else now. To that point, Rihanna had kind of stopped releasing music at that point. Beyonce was in a different era of her career, but it's kind of, to me, SZA was kind of the artist to where I was like, there's a new solo Black pop R&B star, and it's really mattering.
When did Doja come on the scene?
A little bit later. Doja was still a cow at that point.
Okay.
She was a cow. I like that record. Doja was still, and by the way, even with Doja, it seems as if people weren't taking Doja seriously as an artist until Say So came out, because Doja was dope.
She was a little bit more underground,
and she was very quirky. But then when Say So comes out, people were like, that's a legitimately fucking great song.
It crossed over.
And the video was great too. And she looked so beautiful and she was having fun and the whole nine. And it's like, oh my God, this is a great artist. And now you got so many great artists. You got Doja, you got Doja, you got SZA, you got singers
one more.
and rappers.
Where does Ashanti fall in there?
Well, Ashanti she was doing her thing too. She was doing her thing, but that's early on though. So by the time the era I'm talking about of the strict ironclad control, because Ashanti, we going back to
to what?
99, 2000.
No. Was it? I thought it was college.
So it was college.
I gotta look.
But Ashanti came along, and it was the whole Murder Inc. thing. It's like maybe it's 2001, 2002. Ashanti's huge, right? But Beyonce hadn't really put her clamps on it yet, and Rihanna wasn't even really around yet. I'm talking about by the time we get to 08, 09, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, we legitimately get to a time where there are a lot of artists that pop up, but they don't really stay around that long, because I just don't think that there was that much room for anybody in the Beyonce, Rihanna world.
I guess Ashanti's early 2000s.
When was she dropping?
Her first album, named after her, Ashanti self-titled debut, 2002.
Okay.
And then she won a Grammy, 2003. See, she was
there.
You're missing some people.
I'm telling you, what I'm saying is this. So Crazy in Love comes out, 2003?
Now you can't ask me.
Crazy in Love drops 2003. Beyonce is boom on the scene.
Yeah.
But then by the time we get to Single Ladies, which is 2007?
David
Oyelowo is here, guys.
Yeah, I'm the worst with this. You don't want me to start naming the.
So I'm saying it gets to a point. David Oyelowo, walk in for him, David. David Oyelowo is joining us on there with very expensive shoes.
So good to see you.
We were talking about Beyonce and Rihanna. Do you have any thoughts?
About them as artists, about them as people, about them as
Sam
artists.
says when they popped on the scene that it was really just Rihanna and Beyonce. And I'm making an argument for Ashanti. I'm making an argument for, who else? Sierra.
Yeah. Were you still in England at this point?
I moved here in 2007.
Okay.
Oh,
but if the music didn't travel over there.
It traveled. Yeah, but Ashanti was earlier in terms of when Beyonce, I still think of that Beyonce as being in the group at that
Oh,
point.
at that point, yeah.
They were okay. You just killed our argument. You won. You won.
So the show is government cheese.
That's correct.
Black surrealism, which I love.
Oh, good.
I loved watching it. I love Boots Riley. I love Black surrealism. I love Afrofuturism. I love Afro surrealism. It seems like it's having its moment, and this show seems like it's going to be a big deal in that. What do you like about quirky Black surrealism? Not telling stories that are super on the nose. I could even put They Clone Tyrone kind of in that same thing. Seems like we're having our moment with that. What's important about that to you?
My calling as an artist that I have laid out for myself is the contextualization of Black life. And for me, that means every facet, every nook and cranny of who we are, what we do, what we represent. And the reason I'm so passionate about that is when it comes to TV and film, it's incredibly small in terms of the sample size of what we have seen in terms of who we are. Right. And so when you talk about surrealism, when you talk about Afrofuturism, these are concepts that we've seen in moments, but have not become normalized. And, you know, when Paul Hunter approached me about this story 6 years ago, it was actually started as a short film.
Oh, wow.
And Paul Hunter, seminal music video director, talking about all these artists you guys have been mentioning. And just a visionary, but also grew up in the Valley here in Los Angeles and has a really quirky sensibility and has this very specific relationship with the memory of his dad. His dad was in and out of prison. His dad is someone he has fond memories of and really challenging memories of. And he looks at that time in the Valley through these kind of romanticized, rose-tinted glasses in a way. And the script that he presented me as the short was parabolic, surrealist, absurd, quirky, hitherto unseen, all things that I just thought, I have to be part of that because that's part of my remit. I see Wes Anderson getting to do that. I see Spike Jonze getting to do that. I see Paul Thomas Anderson getting to do that. I never see someone like Paul getting to do that or actors like me getting to do that in front of the camera. So we did the short film as a kind of a proof of concept. And to be honest, it was less about thinking about being part of a movement. It was more about that's Paul's story. I love it. I identify with it as a father, as a husband, as a man of faith, and we should put these images out.
Yeah, because I want to talk about the character you play. I mean, I feel like every project you take on, you have a lot of passion behind it. You just don't say yes to anything. So what is it that drew you in specifically to him and what he represents?
Well, I've had the opportunity, and very proudly had the opportunity to do quite a few films and characters set in the 60s during a time of civil rights and racial struggle and all of those things. It just felt like a beautiful palate cleanser to be in the 60s as a Black family, but none of that is part of the equation. And that in its way is its own kind of radical representation of us on film, and in this case in television. So that was one of the things, but also the fact that this guy goes on this spiritual quest. Like I say, I'm a man of faith, and you know we can think of that as quite binary when it comes to, okay, are you a Christian? Are you a Muslim? Are you a Buddhist? Whatever it is. But this guy's on a search, and we know a lot of people while they're incarcerated, they have this sort of religious or spiritual awakening. And this guy's is just incredibly specific. And I just loved that it wasn't what we had seen before. I loved that it allowed for a visual representation of his journey that I also felt like we hadn't seen before. And I loved that his journey was a push and pull. It wasn't just, right, I'm going the righteous path. So much of what is also bringing the drama and tension in the show is that his past is pulling on him.
Yahweh.
This is on Apple TV
Yahweh,
Plus.
Exactly, yes.
This is on Apple TV Plus, which Apple TV Plus, it seems like, is having a moment in terms of its relevance. Now, there've always been great shows on there, but the streaming climate was so crowded that it didn't seem like and we've had this conversation. We'd be like, a couple of years ago, we'd be like, man, Apple TV Plus has some of the best shows on television that it didn't seem like a lot of people were talking about. But that's different now. That's different now with Silo starting to break out. That's different now with Severance, with a lot of different shows. It seems like they're more willing to be daring on non-IP stuff than a lot of the other streamers are. It seems like a lot of the other streamers are existing in IP, and it seems like Apple TV is still a place that's willing to be daring with original stories and original visions. Why do you feel like that is?
I think they're now being rewarded for that. I think early on they were making bets that were more quirky, more off the beaten path. And those shows are now gaining an audience for stuff that they even did a while back. Even when I did Silo with them. And, it almost feels like the second season had even more of a bump than the first season because people are now discovering it. Now, the thing I think that they've got really right is they haven't gone for lowest common denominator. Their big thing, and I have a first look deal with them with my company, is premium, premium, premium. We don't have to be in this business, but if we're gonna be in this business, quality is gonna be the signature of who we are and what we do. And the great thing about Apple, in my opinion, so many of the streamers, they use the phrase original. And Apple Original is actually that by definition, because they don't have IP, they don't have a library to rely on. So most of the time, they have artists going to them with Severance, which is an original idea, or Silo, which is a beloved book, but not something the likes of which we've seen before. Shrinking, Sugar, Sunny, they're all original ideas. And I think the audience is rewarding them for the fact that elsewhere, it's stuff I've either seen before, or you can tell it's a money grab by the artists who are participants in them. That's never the case with this. And with Government Cheese, what they loved about it was the fact that there was nothing else they could compare it to. Almost everywhere else, they want the comp. Like, what's it like? Tell us what it's like so that we can justify making it.
What is with that? Like, why every time you pitching something, you gotta go, yo, this is a cross between Star Wars, Boys in the Hood, 1987 LA. And then even every character that you talk to people about, think about Harrison Ford, but with a Caesar and a mouthful of gold teeth. Like, why are we so
afraid to take risks
on precedent when you're trying to tell a new story?
Because it's a fear-ridden industry. And unfortunately, a lot of the people with green light power and ability are scared, are fearful of losing their jobs, are scared of taking a decision or a choice, period, let alone one that exposes the fact that they may be the one who bet on something. But as artists, that's all we do, or that's all we should be doing. So there's a very unhappy marriage between the creatives and the commerce, so to speak. And this is one of the few places in my experience where they are welcoming the creative to drive the commercial potential of the platform.
Well, and that's achievement in itself. Congratulations, then, because it seems like to get on Apple, you got to be the cream of the crop.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Why Government Cheese? Why is it called that?
It's called Government Cheese because, as for those of us who will know, Government Cheese was government subsidized food. It was this sort of processed cheese that people in lower income families would get. But as is the case with us as people of color, we often take something that is kind of nothing and make it into something, and not just something, but something great. And you talk to people about those grilled cheese sandwiches or the mac and cheese that people would make out of Government Cheese. And so it's symbolic of that aspirational creative mindset that the family have. My character is coming out of a time in prison, but he has this drill, this self-sharpening drill that he's invented, and it's going to be the means by which his family is going to have a better life. Astoria, my wife, as played by Simone Missick, she's a receptionist, but
love her.
Incredible incredible. Just incredible.
Fantastic.
One of the greatest blessings of doing that job was getting to be on set with Simone Missick. But she aspires to be an interior designer. Our kid who, you think, okay, he's going to go to college. He wants to be a pole vaulter. Our other kid is aspiring to, or is completely obsessed with Native American culture. So everyone is sort of looking beyond the place that they are in. And so, necessity being the mother of invention is why it's called Government Cheese.
I asked you a question that we talked about a little bit on the show. Talking about different ways to contextualize the Black experience on screen. I've been noticing something. Different movies, right? Nomadland, The Brutalist. Sometimes I'll just watch a movie about a person, and it's just kind of about their thing, right? Now, obviously, when you watch The Brutalist, that's very, it's very connected to his experience of having escaped the Holocaust and all of the things that were happening in Europe during the time. So obviously, there's a very distinct cultural perspective that movie comes from. But I say, when I watch Nomadland or some of these other movies or Nora, I just want to watch a movie with Black people just roaming around. Just roaming around, going from state to state, doing stuff, meeting people, like something that doesn't have to do with running away from hordes of people who are trying to lynch them or how they not going to deal drugs. I'm not saying that those stories don't matter.
Right.
I'm saying that, I just want to see Black people roam and exist on screen.
Right.
And it doesn't seem like you get the opportunity to do that. The question is why? And I'm hoping stories like Government Cheese and other stories like that give us the ability to stretch that. But why can't we just have some movies where it's one or two people giving an amazing performance, just dealing with something in their lives, going through a period in their lives? Buffalo 66, Nomadland, all of that stuff. All of these great movies that I've seen, but I never see Black people really getting the opportunity to be in films like that.
Yeah, because there's an enormous amount of intention around minimizing who and what we are. It's a political act. The fact that it took so long for a film like Selma to come to fruition, the fact that we had a J. Edgar Hoover movie before we had a Dr. King movie is indicative of something. Those films you're talking about, I like those films. I like watching them, but they are what we call white people doing white people stuff.
Yeah.
And they get to do that all the time. Why? Because there's been so much context for their existence that we want to see, or there's room for even more contextualization of their existence. But because we have been so minimized in this incredibly powerful cultural medium, almost every time we're on screen, we're having to explain our existence. And that's to do with the fact that the people who greenlight what we get to do are not connected to who we are. So the things that they gravitate towards are how they see us. So there's a reason why, more often than not, when we are celebrated, when it comes to accolades, it's to do with our criminalization or our marginalization or our enslavement. If you look at the record of where we have been rewarded for stuff, that shows where there is value placed in terms of our representation. And then when we get to color outside the lines, pejoratives, in my opinion, like overperformed, get wheeled out. And I deem it a pejorative because that's a backhanded compliment. It didn't overperform. It just did what it always would have done. But that's your way of justifying that it is a unicorn. The minute you subscribe to the there can only be one syndrome, then you have succeeded in yet again making us exotic as opposed to normalized in a way that the audience often actually enjoys, participates in, celebrates, remunerates you for. But there is intention around our minimization. And that's why, for me, Government Cheese is such a win because it is Black people doing Black people stuff, but in a context that you don't normally see that is completely relatable, whether you are Black or not. And that's what we get lesser of.
That's what I was going to say, because for someone who maybe doesn't watch the trailer or they see the title, Government Cheese, they see, oh, this is a Black man who went to prison, separated from his family, and maybe they're just reading it like that on paper. But what I love about the show is, and you just described it when you were talking about each member of the family, there's a lot of excellence there. There's joy there. There is a family unit still there. Can you talk about the importance of making sure that existed within the show as well and highlighting that? Because it isn't just stereotypes. Well, it is stereotypes. It's exactly what you were saying. It's not the stereotypes that we typically see. There's so much more to who we are as Black people and Black families.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the universal is found in the specific. As we know, for a myriad of historical reasons, Black people being incarcerated is far more prevalent in our community than in other communities. So there is something specific around that. But what you tend not to see is the context or the breadth of experience beyond that. So I truly believe that where potency lies in storytelling is the fresh and the familiar. So fine, this guy starts being incarcerated, but I can guarantee you haven't seen a guy who came up with a self-sharpening drill while he's incarcerated. I can guarantee that you haven't seen a guy dressed like this guy, living where this guy lives. I've never seen a Black family in the Valley, let alone in the 60s. I've never seen a character the likes of which Simone Missick plays, in this show. I've never seen a Black kid with a beautiful afro who wants to be a pole vaulter. These are all things that, for me, widen the aperture of who we are. And that aspirational component combined with the way this thing is framed, those wide shots, the way it's shot, the beauty of the filmmaking, I think, is a component as well. And that's something I will eternally be grateful to Apple for. They gave us a requisite budget for our ambition for the show. So often, what also minimizes our stories is that they have far lesser budgets. We had a third of the budget they had on the J. Edgar Hoover movie for Selma. And that means you end up shooting into corners because you can't, if you're doing a period show, like have the big vista. So that inherently tells the audience this is a smaller story. This is a smaller show. This is something that doesn't demand your attention to the degree that those other things you like watching are. And that's something else that we managed to bring into the equation.
Question here. How much, Rachel's hungry. How much does audience figure into this? And let me tell you what I mean. When we're talking about all the different criticisms, is there a criticism to be made of the audience in some of these questions? Particularly if we take J. Edgar Hoover and Martin Luther King Jr. Selma was a beautiful movie. I love Selma. Obviously, you know Ava's family. If we were to take a robust look at Dr. King's life, there is a chance that there are some things that would be in the movie that might be uncomfortable to people.
Absolutely.
Right. When I was watching the J. Edgar Hoover movie, which is actually a bad movie, all right? Shout out to everybody else that made the movie. Clint Eastwood was a fantastic filmmaker. Look at me doing all the work for them. They're good people. It didn't work for whatever reason.
Right.
However, there are parts of J. Edgar Hoover's life in that movie that you cannot tell his story without kind of exploring, right? His sexuality, things of that nature, what kind of person he was. Now, if we were to do a movie about Dr. King or a deep investigation into Dr. King's life, there's stuff in there that might piss some Black people off. So sometimes I feel like the consternation of the audience maybe stops us from having, or the reservations of audiences stops us from having either more daring, creative conversations or going deeper into some of the characters like we need to. I read great books about Dr. King, and all of them talk about some of the things that are a little bit more unsavory about his life to talk about. But it doesn't seem like we want to have those conversations on screen. With him or with some of the other things that we hold sacred. Is that a problem for audiences, or more specifically Black audiences?
It comes back to context. If you have so many, or so few, I should say, at-bats, then it becomes difficult when you are the only film that is being made about the only American to have a holiday named after him in the 20th century. If you are that film, and then it becomes what feels like a hit job, on his character, when for so many he is an icon and an agent for change, it's a very tough needle to thread. Now, if you have a myriad of films and TV shows touching on that great life, you have a widened aperture for context. And that's what so often happens for us. Like some of my favorite films, Raging Bull, There Will Be Blood, Walk the Line. For us as Black people to get to play those almost, are they a hero? Are they an anti-hero type of roles? Way harder for us to find and do because, again, there is not enough context for who we are. So it becomes, you're airing our dirty laundry.
Yeah.
It's a representation that is denigrating to who we are because there are so few at-bats. Now, the incredible thing, I think, that Ava managed to do with Selma is that we didn't shy away from that. There's a scene, one of my favorite scenes in the film is where Carmen Ejogo, as Coretta Scott King, confronts Dr. King about his infidelity. And that I have no interest in playing an icon. I want to play a human being. I want to play someone who is fully three-dimensional. Now, with that film, we had so many things we had to stick the landing on, and we definitely did not want to paint him as a saint. So that was our area, our avenue to acknowledge that. But we need so many more films about our heroes to get to the point that you're talking about. And that's exactly why I'm talking about the normalization of us. Because just imagine what it was like for Sidney Poitier back in the day. How what he felt he needed to do, the roles he felt he couldn't take. Like there are roles I simply will not take because I cannot be part of stereotyping my people, bringing caricatures into play that I know are denigrating my people. There are films within which I may want to entertain playing the Black best friend if it was a great script and it's a great character, but I can't do that.
You're not playing the Black best friend.
I cannot do that because of the connotations of it, because of how problematic a representation it is of us when it comes to constantly putting us on the periphery. So I will not participate in that. White actors who are very, very high profile can do that. They can go and with their friend and go like, oh, I'm just going to go on the Clooney movie or the Brad Pitt movie and I'm just going to go have fun. I'll do this cameo or whatever. I can't do that if it's all white leads and I'm going to be in the corner because that is a political statement around who I am, who my people are in a cultural context that I deem problematic.
Are there any other roles that are like that you just like, I'm out on it. I don't want to do it.
You won't see me running towards playing a slave. You know, even in Bass Reeves, he starts in enslavement, and that was really, really tough for me. But I could only entertain being part of that story if I knew he was going from enslavement to empowerment.
Yeah.
Because I just can't be a participant in something that consistently leaves us in that place and perpetuates that perception of us as a people.
Is there somebody else's story? Because you came here before and you talked about Bass Reeves.
Great show,
we're talking a little bit. You were talking a little bit about Selma. Is there somebody else's story, Black historical figure, or maybe even in the present, that you want to tell? Or portray, maybe I should say.
To tell, you know, Olaudah Equiano, who was a huge part of the emancipation of Black people from a British context, is a character that, you know, whether I get to play him or not, is one I'm very, very passionate about. You know, there's all sorts of conversation, as we have discussed before, around Black Brits getting to play African-American historical roles. And I'm very sensitive to that. And that's not me saying I wouldn't entertain doing that, but I understand the frustration around it. I've had an incredible amount of opportunity and at-bats. A lot of them, I will say, I've been a huge component in them coming to fruition, but I want to be sensitive to how many of those I do when, like I say, there's robust conversation around that. I just want to, and I'm having the opportunity to do this more as a producer, I just really want to be a conduit for these things coming to fruition. Things Fall Apart. Chinua Achebe's incredible novel is a book I'm collaborating with Idris Elba on at the moment to bring to fruition with A24. That's one that I'm really, really passionate about because, you know, I'm also very sensitive to the idea that, especially for us as Black people in America, this notion that our history began in enslavement. That's just, again, problematic. We need the context of where we actually came from, where we were stolen from, who we were before that, and how transcendent of a people not only we were then, but explains why we are a transcendent people now,
Right.
you know, kind of going back to our origin story. So those are some of the stories I'm passionate about.
So I looked this up. You are 4 levels away from knight.
Okay.
So this is very important. So you are an officer of the Order of the British Empire for your services for drama. So that means officer, that's number 4, okay? There are 5 classes of appointment to this order for highest grade. Number 1 is Knight Grand Cross, you're Sir or Dame, Knight Commander or Dame Commander, and then there's 3, and then there's 4.
I'm sure you think about this all the time.
all day, every day.
This is the type of shit that I think
I
about.
know you do.
Okay?
I know you do.
This is the type of shit that I think about. So you're a part of it, but you're 4 more tonight. Now, do they tell you what you have to do? Is there when they give you the because I know you got I see the little thing they give you a little necklace or something, right?
Yes.
Do they tell you, okay, now you're in here, but you gotta keep ranking up or leveling up? Do you have a better shot at knighthood if William becomes king? It's like, what do we have to do? Because we can start, because I don't know how many knights we got. I'm sure we got some Black knights over there, right?
Do we? I think Lenny Henry is a knight now.
Who is that?
So Lenny Henry. He's a big comedian actor.
Okay, good. Well, we're going to have an American play him in his biopic. so that's what we're going to get y'all back. So the question is, what do we got to do? Because we got an era. I thought about this. We could have a whole Black Knight Avengers at this point.
Oh, wow.
You, Damson, Daniel, John, with all of y'all doing y'all thing, we could have a crew of Black Knights and Dames with some of the ladies that are doing it, but we need a concerted effort. This could bring the diaspora together.
This is it.
I'm serious.
Keep going.
We need a Nick Fury of y'all. We need a concerted effort by the diaspora to get y'all to knighthood. Then we could kind of take over the UK.
I like this, fam.
Yeah.
I like this.
So do they let you know what you have to do to become a knight?
They haven't let me know. The only thing I know is that I think my kids have the right to get married in St. Paul's Cathedral because I'm an OBE.
Okay.
But I think not like in the main hall,
then we're not doing that. We're not doing that.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know, but I don't think I need to become a sir for us to get this knights and dames idea going though.
I want all of y'all together. I want Sir John Boyega, Sir Damson, Sir. I want all of them because it's time for us.
I love it.
Let's be honest, man. The Brits owe us, man, for all of the stuff that they've done over the years, the royal family, for all the imperialism and colonialism.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they owe us, man.
Oh, yeah.
They owe us. So I need to know, I'm going to figure this out. And then I'm going to put out my own manifesto about getting y'all to knighthood.
Gosh.
But they don't tell you.
They don't. But I love that you're saying that, because actually it's a bit controversial to accept the OBE.
I would imagine it probably would be for some people.
Yeah, because of the colonial past of the UK. And, when people have sort of brought this up to me, and everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but for me, so much of that country, like for you guys as African Americans in relation to America, so much of Britain was built on the back of my ancestors.
Yeah.
And so anything and everything that society has to offer by way of advantage, reward, compensation is mine.
You should do it. Yeah, you should do it. We'd be mad here if you didn't.
I understand the conversation. I really do understand the conversation. And maybe I'm too far removed, but
then do we just stay in a place where we just don't allow these things to happen, or do you break barriers and you make it happen?
Absolutely.
And you take over.
Now you're talking. Now you're talking. That's the agenda.
You're not a stranger, though, you've played a king on Broadway, which is a question I'm getting a little off here because I know Van has some things he wants to get to, clearly, asking you about knights. We're seeing a lot of actors go back. I mean, they started on Broadway, then, they go to film, shows, whatever. But we're seeing, I feel like, more of a resurgence than lately going back to Broadway. Do you think you could see that in your future? Would you go back?
I mean, for me, that represents going back to theater generally.
Theater, yes.
But Broadway being a big part of that. I just went back to the UK to play Coriolanus at the National Theatre. And I think it's twofold. For me, that is where you go to clean the pipes. That is like the Everest for actors. Shakespeare plays generally. But to get to speak that language, you cannot fake it in front of an audience. And, with film, with TV, you can be protected by an editor, with marketing, with a great director, other actors. There's nowhere to hide with theater. And the best actors walking the planet will tend to have at some point had theater in their development. And it's something that they go back to because it's where you build or rebuild that muscle. But I think so many actors going back to theater is indicative of the fact that the contraction in our business when it comes to what's a theater film, what's a streaming film, what's a film these days, means that we're living on a bit of a malnourished diet when it comes to really great roles, really great films. So you have more actors migrating back to the theater because you want to be fed. It's where you really go to re-engage, relearn what it is to be scared. For me, great work, great storytelling comes from feeling the fear and doing it anyway. And that is absolutely what you get in the theater. And in a world where studios are taking less risks when it comes to film, that's why a lot of people are migrating back to theater.
So I want to ask you about a bit of news. We saw this week that, or we should say it's been rumored because we don't know anything specific, that there was an interview with Jonathan Majors and Keke Palmer that was supposed to come out on Keke's podcast. It did not come out, I think, after there was some backlash for some people that didn't want Keke Palmer to put the interview out. You've been very supportive, outwardly supportive of Jonathan Majors as he's gone about his troubles over the last year or whatever. How do you feel about what has happened with him? Why have you been so supportive of him? And what about him makes him so special as a performer? It's got to be a difficult thing to kind of navigate with there being so many opinions about that. Why has it been important for you to be such an advocate and a public friend to him in times when some people haven't?
Well, I mean, there's so much to unpack there. First thing to say is that, I think Jonathan is a generational talent. I think he's one of the best actors walking the earth today. His performance in Magazine Dreams is just mind-blowing to me. I haven't seen a performance that good in decades.
It's insane.
It's incredible.
Yeah. It's just off the charts brilliant. So that's the first thing to say. Historically speaking, I was just this weekend at the lynching museum in Montgomery. And when you see the history of lynching in this country, that is something you cannot ignore as it pertains specifically to Black men. That is something that is part of the equation when it comes to our existence. So that's to give some historical context to something that is in the air with this stuff. Then you have him as my friend. Like, I know him. I know him well as a person. Jonathan is imperfect. That I know to be true. But I also know what lynching, when you are on the path to ascendancy as a Black man, looks like. It is premeditated, it is intentional, and it is weaponized. And that is something that is indisputable when it is part of this equation. My friend Nate Parker, who is also imperfect, but who is someone I know intimately as a person. When you look at the timing of these moments where these brothers are taken down, it's not just to do with who they are and what they do. It's to do with the notion of success and power and who should be afforded it. And so it's layered for me because, like I say, these are guys in my life They're in my house. We pray together. We break bread together. I'm a big brother to them. And I'm very clear with them as to where they have erred, as to where they have to do better, as to where, to those who much has been given, much is required. But I'm also a Christian, and I take that very, very seriously. And that, for me, is born out of the notion of redemption. All have sinned and fallen short. We all need redemption. And for me personally, I think hypocrisy as a Christian looks like walking around in judgment over people who have erred from a self-righteous perspective. So all of those things aggregate into a situation whereby I feel, as a man, as an artist, as someone who has a platform, I cannot turn my eyes and my face away from people who I know there's an agenda, generally speaking, towards people who look like us. I know that from knowing them personally, they are people who, from a spiritual perspective, deserve a second chance, deserve redemption, deserve to be looked after in the midst of their turmoil. And also when it comes to a talent perspective, in a industry where they are so keen to have the "there can only be one" syndrome. And when you see one rising and that one so often gets cut down, that in and of itself is just deeply problematic. Like, we need more than one. I have no interest in being the one. I have no interest in being unicornized in our industry, because power for us looks like being in numbers and not having to explain our existence, because we become normalized by virtue of our proliferation. So there are people who will have problems with some of what I'm saying in relation to what those guys were accused of, what they deemed to have been what they have done. But where I can justify my support of them, and I will never apologize for my support of them, is I've been with them when no one's looking. We have had the hard conversations, and I deem myself a pretty good judge of character.
Well, you've challenged them.
I've challenged them and continue to challenge them, because unfortunately for us, we're held to a different standard, as we've been discussing in relation to the things that we make. Right. So that is why I have the disposition I have. And for me, friendship is a very real thing. If you're my friend, that's it. Like, there are things you can do that make me not feel able to support you publicly, but I will not abandon you privately. But what I have experienced of these brothers personally is also why I feel able to support them publicly.
Can I just ask you this? Because I think a lot of the criticism that people, when I have against Jonathan, or maybe even a Nate, they say that they don't feel, and you can, and if this is too personal, please just don't answer it. But you are talking about, you challenged him. You're also talking about he's your friend. You've seen him in ways privately that none of us have been privy to. A lot of people try to say, well, we haven't seen, enough time hasn't passed, or we haven't seen him do the work or work on himself. Can you not specifically say what he's done, but is he doing things to work on himself to be better as a person as well? You said you've acknowledged he's imperfect, but is he on the road to doing things?
Jonathan. Absolutely. You know, the conversations I have had with him have been challenging, and I mean challenging of him, not challenging to me, because he calls me his big brother, and I take that very, very seriously. And the year he has had to sit down and think about, you know, some of the disposition he has had in relation to what he's been accused of, has been incredibly meaningful. Having the amount taken from him that has been taken from him as a result of this is, of course, a huge source of reflection for him. But you know what is the other thing as well, is that we as Black men, and this is, you know, I gather a bunch of guys to my house.
I've seen the pictures.
Every year. And it's because we're not very good at being accountable to each other. We're not very good at trusting community with each other because some of this stuff is historical. We were deliberately kept apart so that we can be conquered, so that we were not part of our families, so that we can be brutalized, so that we can be objectified. And a lot of this historically, almost at a DNA level now, is in us as Black men. And so you're dealing with that. You're dealing with absent fathers. You're dealing with a lack of role models. You're dealing with toxic masculinity and how that gets celebrated and of course gets weaponized depending on the day of the week or who's got the mic. And so, for me, in gathering brothers, in providing an umbrella, shelter, a place of safety for folks like Nate Parker, Jonathan Majors, my friend Noel Clark, who's dealing with a not dissimilar thing in the UK. It's about how do we survive? How do we survive with all of these syndromes, which are undeniable towards us as Black people? How do we survive despite being imperfect human beings, which is the case for every human being? How do we survive when our success is still anomalous? And we don't have playbooks for success. Like we don't have, so often we are the first to do this, that, and the other. Breaking new ground is hard.
Yeah.
It's hard work. That's
scary too.
It's scary, it's lonely, and it's back-breaking work. It's in the phrase, ground breaking.
Yeah.
And if you're doing that on your own, I'm sorry, you're going to falter.
Yeah.
Whether it's exhaustion or whether it's just your humanity or an attack. So that's why, a need for community is a huge part of this component for me. And that's, I truly believe in the phrase, you're either part of the solution or part of the problem. We can talk about areas where these guys have erred. We can talk about where other people who don't look like us have erred. And that is by no means the level of punitive circumstance they find themselves in.
Yeah.
And the only way I see us having a future is to be in community where we can support each other and help each other be better as we move forward.
Yeah. Well said. Before David gets out of here, we have to do one thing that's the most important thing that we've ever done before in life. We have to see how much David Oyelowo knows about animals. It is time for animal games.
Okay.
Donnie,
you're bringing it back.
Animal games with
Animal
Is this
game.
you singing?
Animal game.
You and Ashanti. I don't know. I can't pick.
First time it's back this year.
That's the Animal Games theme song, right?
Donnie, let's go.
We haven't done animal games. We haven't done it in a while. You're the first guest, so we appreciate your participation.
Okay.
The way it's going to go is we got 3 dairy-based questions in honor of government cheese.
Oh, I love it.
One for each of you.
Okay.
I'll start with our guest, David. How many gallons of milk will a cow make in one day? This is a multiple choice. You got 1, about half gallon. You got 2, 2 to 4 gallons, or 3, 6 to 8.
I'm going to say 6 to 8.
You are correct.
Oh
Wow.
my God.
Thank you.
That's a lot of milk.
Thank
I wouldn't
you.
have said that.
I wouldn't have said that either. 6 to 8 gallons of milk?
And
I
we're
know my
country.
dairy.
We should know better.
We should have known that.
We should have known better.
Listen,
God damn, who put these cows through the middle passage?
I don't.
That's a lot of milk, man. Who's advocating for these cows?
Not the middle passage.
Like who? These cows need a two-song. Donnie, next question.
Man.
All right, next question is for Rachel. This is true or false, so you got 50% chance.
Thank you.
Cows only have teeth at the bottom of their mouth. True or false?
That's true.
That is true. They got just gums at the top.
Oh, pressure, Van.
Pressure.
Pressure,
That's
pressure,
being on the
pressure.
farm. I had to dig deep.
Wow.
Okay.
All right.
Don't let us
Last
down.
question. Don't let us down. What are young female cows who have never given birth to calves called?
You
Is
know
it-
this.
Wait, this is a straight question?
Straight question.
I don't get multiple choice.
Because it's easy. Is it easy, Donnie?
So young
I think
female.
it's easy.
So young female cows who have never given birth to calves.
Yes. You can ask for a hint if you want one.
I need a hint.
It's a cultural slur. It's a
Come
slur
on,
within
you
our
know
culture.
Oh,
this.
heifers. Heifers.
That is correct.
Wow.
Heifers.
Heifers
You get
is
half
right.
a point.
Not until it was a slur. Were you
Thank
able to get
David
there?
for saying it.
I mean, really?
Thank you, David.
Really, man?
He goes, oh, duh, heifers.
That's how we get there?
Heifers. So, that's it. We're out of, so it's a tie. Our first.
No, you get half a point for that.
Our return to animal games is a tie.
Yeah, I'm with David and Rachel. You get half a point.
Oh,
David and Rachel
God
We didn't
damn
ask
it.
for help.
Bam,
You know what? You know what got me off of animal games? I'm really thinking about the strain that's being put on the individual cow. It's instead of having all the brothers over, you need to go visit a dairy farm and talk to these cows. 6 to 8 gallons of milk a day.
Have you
They
seen
probably
the
don't milk
size
every
of those
day.
things? Though? They're pretty large.
they're
We're
animals.
used to,
they're pretty large.
cat like beef cow. We're not used to dairy cows. There's a difference.
Cat. There's a. I don't know.
That
as much
should have been
about
a
cows as
question
I thought.
too.
These questions are sad. I didn't want to go down that route. That's sad.
David, let me tell you something before we get you out of here, man. You are one of our favorite guests. We love having you on whenever you have
Mhm.
anything to promote, or even just want to hang out. I saw David at the macro party, and I always like it when somebody that everybody knows is like saying what up, because like you'll go there and you'll see someone. Shout out to a macro party, beautiful situation. And they'll be like, oh my God, Van knows David Oyelowo. And then they'll be like, hey, Van, it's okay to... Well, now you want to say hello. Because Dr. King said hello. Now you want to say hello because Dr. King said hello. I'm with you. I got it. I know how it works.
You're welcome, man. You're welcome.
Appreciate you for joining us. Thank you for joining us on Higher Learning, man.
I
Government
love you
Cheese
guys.
is
Thank you.
on Apple TV Plus. When does it come out?
From the 16th, so next Wednesday, 16th of April.
That's my birthday. 16th of April on. Make sure to support it, and not just support it because it's Black, but
It's great.
Great, both visually and story-wise. So.
Yeah. And they have a little treat for you. The first 2 episodes are available to, even if you don't have Apple
nice.
TV Plus, if you just go to Apple TV Plus, the first 2 episodes will be there for you to enjoy.
David, thank you so much for joining us.
Bless
thank
you.
you.
Thanks,
All right.
guys.
So Terrence Howard is trying to fight people.
Is he serious?
I think
Because I feel like the last time he came up, he wasn't serious.
Donnie, play the Terrence Howard sound of what he said.
If you're going to talk about the geometry, have other geometries to argue against it. If you're going to talk about the supersymmetry, speak of other supersymmetries that would work against it. If you're going to talk about the white papers, provide your own white paper as an argument to argue against the equations or the conclusions. But we're going to do this respectfully, otherwise we'll end in a duel. And I mean a duel, real life duel, where only one person walks away. We can meet with guns, bottles, knives, or books and equations. But we're going to do this like men. So, get ready.
Should we bring back duels?
Okay, wait. But not a duel like to the death. Redefine duel. Because surely you're not advocating for that. Oh my
Not
God,
to-
you are.
Not to the
Look at you pondering.
not to the death, but to the pain
Of-
like they say in The Princess Bride. I don't disagree with Terrence Howard.
That movie.
Nigga, you hate what? What did you say?
I do not like The Princess Bride. Never could get into it. Close your mouth.
Fuck Terrence Howard. Fuck duels. Fuck anything I've ever said. How is it that you don't like The Princess Bride? I want you to tell me right now. I'm going to shut the fuck up.
It just never resonated with me. Like, I don't know. It was a big movie, in my first Baptist Academy days, like everybody loved it and they would rave about it. And then I watched and I'm like, I'm bored. I'm just not into this movie.
Do we have the right movie? Okay, what's The Princess Bride about?
I don't really remember. The giant. Isn't there a giant?
Yeah, Andre the Giant's in the movie. Disrespectful. Like he passed
No,
away.
I know he passed away. I'm not disrespecting him. I said the giant. I got half his name right.
You're fucking with me. There's no way this is true. You're fucking with me. There's no. You're joking, right? The Princess Bride. So
I know what
Cary
it is.
Elway's, like
I know
Andre the
what it
Giant,
is.
Wallace Shawn, Robin Wright starts.
Yeah, Robin Wright is in it.
They're telling a story.
Yeah, I know what movie it is.
My name is Ingo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. The Dread Pirate Roberts.
I remember the movie. I was like, okay.
When's the last time you saw it?
Oh my gosh.
By the way, I am not in any way badgering
Like
Rachel
single
because
digits. So it's been, but I never could finish it.
you gotta see it again.
Okay.
Because
I'm down for that.
all right, so here's the things about the Princess Bride. All right, here's the thing about Princess Bride. So there are no Negroes in it. It's another fantasy movie where there are no Negroes, which always makes you wonder what people are fantasying with. Damn, does that count as race?
1,000%.
100%. Negroes.
Yes.
Shit!
That's 2. It's April 10th.
I keep forgetting. You could get away with it, but I appreciate you holding yourself
By the way,
accountable.
it doesn't count in
It
the
didn't
interview.
count in the David interview. No, I was
It
going to
doesn't count
say
in
it
the
doesn't
interview.
count. It doesn't
So
count.
that's 2.
Okay.
All right. 2.
Basically every episode is happening. We'll be back next week, guys.
Okay. So I'm gonna end up having to tell you I'm gonna take my shirt off at the live show if I go over my race count.
Which is sold out.
Oh, sold out live show, guys.
Sold out. You know how many seats are in the Gramercy?
5,000?
No.
How many?
650, which is still a lot.
I don't know that we sold out 650 seats.
Every ticket is sold out. You go right now, there is a wait list. I've seen a lot of people have been DMing me. Oh, I waited too late. Oh, I was trying to come up from Boston or DC, Philly. Get on the wait list. You still might have an opportunity.
Okay.
Well, you said 5,000, so you thought we sold out
joking.
5,000.
Let's go back
that's
to
great.
it's not bad.
We can move past the Princess Bride.
No, I don't want to move past it. I'm trying to figure out because I'm not saying that The Princess Bride is. Nah, I'm not gonna fuck with you. The Princess Bride is a flawless movie. It's like a perfect movie. It's a perfect movie.
I will watch it. I'm going to watch it.
Funny. It's got surprises. It's a classic fairy tale. Donnie, have you seen The Princess Bride?
I actually haven't. No.
Yo, man.
He's young. He's young.
He ain't that young.
I don't have an excuse.
I'm not that young. My big cousins weren't into it. So my movies of around this era that I have seen, it was like I would see it because my big cousins were into it. I think my equivalent of The Princess Bride was The Labyrinth, which I think is a better movie.
Labyrinth is better than The Princess Bride. Hold on.
You know what I was in? Let's do this. You know what I was into around that time?
What?
Willow.
Willow's great.
Willow was my movie.
Now, let me tell you something about Willow. Willow's great. I love Willow. Shout out to Joanna Robinson, the Giovanna Experience. Willow's great. I love Willow.
Rest
However,
in peace, Val Kilmer.
The Princess Bride is significantly better than Willow.
All right, I'm going to watch. God, I loved Willow.
Like Mardigan. Rest in peace, Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer, I would say this about Val Kilmer, and I will stand on this. Val Kilmer has the coolest array of characters of just about anybody. You can stack Matt Mardigan, Christopher Shaherlis from Heat, Doc Holliday.
Oh.
Who did he play in Real Genius?
The Doors. He played
Van Morrison.
He played
Thank you.
No, Jim Morrison.
Yep. And here I go. Thank you.
Van Morrison. He played Jim Morrison. What am I doing? What is a pop culture savant such as myself?
You go on other podcasts to satisfy that. You go on The Big Picture. You go on Rewatchables. Almost said Replaceables.
Replaceables?
You go on Rewatchables. You go in. This is not a movie podcast, and I stand by that. I contribute where I can. I just gave you Willow.
Willow's
can
great.
I get credit?
Yeah.
Are you not shocked that I was into Willow?
So, Val
and
Kilmer.
you left off Bruce Wayne.
Bruce Wayne, I liked his Bruce Wayne in Batman. But if you look at Val Kilmer, If you look at Val Kilmer, I'm serious about this. If you look at Christopher Shaherlis, Matt Mardigan from Willow, super cool character. Doc Holliday from Tombstone, maybe the coolest character ever.
Yeah.
Christopher Knighton from Real Genius, ridiculously cool. Iceman from Top Gun.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of a dick, but super fucking cool character.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we come back to his version of Batman. You could maybe even throw the Saint in there. He maybe has the coolest characters. He might be, I'm not talking about guys who are cool in real life, James Dean, cool, Billy D. Williams, cool. I'm talking about the cool characters that you have played. Just the dogs. You know what I mean? The cool people. I think that Val Kilmer might have the coolest group, or at least he's up there. He's up there. Rest in peace, Val Kilmer. Every time you saw him, you was like, there's about to be some shit. That's Val. Val's bringing it.
He even has a cool name.
Val Kilmer is a very cool name.
Yeah.
Very cool name. Before we move on from this, we have got to have the Rachel Film Festival.
It's a long list.
Doesn't have to be that long. It's going to be 4 movies. We're going to do it at the house. Everybody's going to come over. We're going to watch all 4 movies.
Okay, so Princess Bride is, you get to pick.
Maybe we'll do it at Bill's house.
Because I haven't seen them.
Maybe we'll do it at Bill's house.
If it's at Bill's, it's got to be a rewatchables. Sorry, that's my. I get to come on.
Now, how in the world are you going to advocate for being on the rewatchables when you ain't seen nothing?
Well, that's the thing. I'll be watching it, but we call my version replaceables. Special edition of the rewatchables.
I literally have never heard.
I'm serious.
I've literally never heard someone say, I don't like The Princess Bride. It's a movie that normally, if you've
I'm
seen
in
it,
a league of my own.
There you go. I mean, look.
A movie I have seen, by the way.
Yeah. Did you like A League of...
Loved it.
A League of Their Own?
I loved it.
Okay, what's a movie that you like that you think I don't like? Besides that Annie shit. I hate the story of Annie, by the way.
What is not to like about Annie? No black people? Well, actually, Punjab was black.
No black people in The Princess Bride. That's not it. I mean, it's like, I don't like that. I don't like that type of shit.
She was rescued.
But I don't like kids, plucky kids, a lot of times. Like plucky kids, I'm singing and all of that dumbass shit.
Did you like My Girl?
Yeah, that's a little bit more, that's less plucky though. Because it's like...
but I'm trying to find a movie you don't like.
I like My Girl. Because it's got tragedy and all of that. You know, the bees killed Macaulay Culkin.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Donnie probably hasn't seen it.
Donnie, have you seen My Girl?
I have. That was traumatizing for sure.
It was traumatizing.
Well, he was fucking around now.
For her.
Yeah, but he was fucking
for
around.
For her.
But my thing with him,
he loved Veda.
But my thing with him
I went out and bought a mood ring after that.
If you know that the bees are dangerous to you, why are you fucking around?
Do anything for her. Huh? He would do anything. It was such a tragic, you're right, Donnie. It was such a tragic way to go.
Well, they used to do that to us back in the day.
I'm sorry, what?
So this is what I'm saying. When you saw a kids movie back in the day,
oh, sorry, I thought you meant like us black people.
No, something terrible was going to happen. A kid was going to die. A kid's parent was going to die.
You know where that didn't happen?
Annie. She was an orphan though.
But it didn't happen. She found Daddy Warbucks.
But you don't know. Let me tell you something.
Okay, here you go. Don't make it perverted.
I'm not making it perverted. But what I'm saying is stuff like Annie is why shit is fucked up. A lot of women out here right now looking for their daddy Warbucks. Their daddy Warbucks. A lot of them are looking for their daddy Warbucks. They are. And a lot of niggas out here trying to be daddy Warbucks. A lot of them trying out here.
There's a lot out here looking for their mommy Warbucks.
There are a lot out here looking for their mommy Warbucks. Boy, it doesn't take much to trigger you these days, Rach.
It does not. It does not.
But you know what? I want everybody to come up with ideas for the Rachel Lindsay Film Fest.
4. Well, now 3 because we're putting The Princess Bride.
Okay. Donnie, what do you think?
I'd like different categories.
So
a scary one. We'll do Princess Bride as fantasy.
Yeah.
I'd like...
You gotta watch Star Wars.
I've seen... No.
You gotta watch Star Wars.
No.
You gotta watch Star Wars.
With Raja Binks?
Yeah,
no.
You gotta watch Star Wars.
I don't want to. Which one?
The first one. I'm just gonna make you just the first one, because if you don't watch the first one...
out of order? So are we going like first one back in the day?
We're not doing the prequels, because if we do the prequels, you'll never watch Star Wars again.
So when was the first one?
1977.
Okay, so like the order they came out,
order they
not
came
the
out in.
okay. See,
Yeah.
but see, I knew that.
Yeah,
See, I
1977.
knew
I just the Princess Bride thing has blown my mind. But I'm starting to wonder. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, everybody loves it. That's why I couldn't understand.
We're gonna see because I'm gonna break this clip out and I'm gonna be like, "Yo, do Black people like the Princess Bride?" Because it was a staple with me and Ebony. Me and Ebony watched these fucking movies.
And it was Willow for us.
You ever seen Joe versus the Volcano?
No.
So,
Never even heard of it.
So it's a movie with Tom Hanks. So Tom Hanks had a whole phase of not being the biggest star in the world. It's funny. I'm old enough to remember Tom Hanks as an actor on the rise. Like literally. Like he has Splash. It's a big movie, but I'm old enough to remember.
Big.
Well, Big kind of
Was
solidifies
Big.
him
Okay.
as Joe versus Volcano might have actually been after Big, but when Big Splash kind of gets him out there.
The Money Pit.
The Money Pit.
That's a good one.
These are Tom Hanks movies. These are, hey, I come.
It's a good one.
Like Turner and Hooch, all of these different films. There's a great film, Tom Hanks, Jackie Gleason, Nothing to Lose. No, not Nothing to Lose. What's the name of the movie? It's Nothing in Common. Nothing in Common. Love the Seal Awards in that. But Joe versus Volcano is after that. It's Hanks. It's Meg Ryan. Hanks plays a guy that has to sacrifice himself to a volcano in order to save an island. And he gets kind of tricked into doing it. He meets Meg Ryan, whole thing, whatever. It's great. But these are the movies.
Three movies on the list?
Okay.
Those movies
Star
do
Wars,
not count.
Princess Bride and Joe versus the Volcano.
No, I'm not watching
Volcano.
Joe versus the Volcano. I don't like it.
Okay.
I don't like the title. I don't like the concept you just described.
So for the last one, there'll be an audience choice. Okay, so it'll be.
Do we need a Black movie?
Nah. I can't.
You need a horror movie, right?
A horror movie.
I've seen most of the horror movies. I'm trying to think of a Black. Obviously, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Wait a minute. Nah, fuck that. I'm not watching that for you. Have you ever seen Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight?
No.
That's what we're watching.
Tales from the Hood.
Oh, Tales from the Hood is great. Right. So we've gotten to the bottom of this. Okay, we're back. I'm in my stupid era. All right, these guys got to ride it out. You got to ride out me and my dumb era. Okay, I'm going to take some chances. All right. Thank you to David Oyelowo. The show is Government Cheese. It's on Apple TV Plus. Thank you to all the economists
that have been helping you out. Oh God.
Whenever we talk economics, I'm gonna go get the visor today. Whenever we talk economics, I'm gonna put the visor on with the little. You seen the money guys with the little clear visor? And so I'm gonna put the little clear visor on and I'm gonna tabulate. Then Keynesian economics, Lathan. This is me. Okay.
Donnie, break that out.
Take the caps off, but do not stop learning. I'm Van Lathan Jr.
I'm Rachel Lynn Lindsay. Bye, guys.